How to do a Candida cleanse in 3 easy steps using just diet and supplements, based on 20 years of experience, by Deborah Barnes, CanXida Health. There's a lot of information online on different gut health websites about how to do a successful Candida cleanse. Most of this information is put together by people who've never seen a Candida patient, unlike our team, who actually have. A lot of these websites say things like, you cannot eat any fruit, bread, beans, pasta, or potatoes, period, during a Candida cleanse. And this just isn't true. Remember, a lot of the information out there is written by people who've never treated a single Candida case in their whole life. Yet they're telling you what foods will or won't work for you. The truth is, you can eat fruit. You can eat bread. You can eat beans. You can eat pasta if it's made of certain grains. You can eat potatoes if you cook them a certain way. Keep reading and we'll dispel every myth out there concerning what works and doesn't work for Candida. We'll also explain our 3-step Candida cleanse we developed based on over 20 years of research and thousands of before and after stool tests. To learn more about us and what we do, check the description below. Part 1. The CanXida Protocol, a 3-step Candida cleanse based on plus 20 years of experience working with patients and thousands of before and after Candida stool tests. Why many people fail to eradicate Candida and end up being sick for years. Before we talk about what works against yeast, let's talk about what doesn't. First of all, many people don't understand that 1. Candida or yeast infections are caused by a naturally occurring yeast-like fungus found in the GI tract of 90% of the population, and because it is a fungus, it is highly susceptible to antifungal treatments. 2. Candida is an opportunistic pathogen, meaning it's not a problem when kept in check by friendly bacteria, but will become a problem when those bacteria are no longer present. In other words, you cannot solve this problem by only focusing on how to kill Candida. Candida cleansing isn't only about killing. It's about building your gut health up so that your body overcomes the infection and keeps it from coming back. That's why your cleanse must include a stage where you recolonize your gut with friendly bacteria, aka a probiotic. Not doing this crucial step is the number 1 reason many people get recurring infections and end up suffering for years. The number 2 reason is they just focus on drugs. All drugs do is kill things. They don't build up the environment so the yeast can't get in there again once you stop taking the drugs. This goes for antifungal drugs like the NIST and azole ones, and it also goes for antibiotics. Antibiotics are the primary cause of Candida overgrowth. Why? Because nearly every woman with recurring vaginal yeast infections has had a history of antibiotic use before she got sick. The problem with antibiotics, as you've probably read elsewhere, is they indiscriminately wipe out every kind of bacteria in your gut, including the beneficial ones. What most people, including many general practitioners, don't understand is beneficial bacteria are what prevent Candida from taking over in the first place. Good bacteria, primarily Lactobacillus and Bifida, are your gut's immune system. They're like a defense force or a police unit. They keep the bad guys, bad bacteria and yeast, in check and prevent them from gaining a foothold. Instead, you want to only target the yeast and not harm the beneficial bacteria. And that's what we'll be teaching you here. If you take a look at the 2,000 plus free videos on our YouTube channel, which you can learn more about in the description below, you'll see we've been at this for a long time. This cleanse is the end result of thousands of hours spent in the clinic working with patients, researching countless books, online resources, speaking with many experts, and old-fashioned trial and error. It wasn't made up out of thin air by some blogger like other Candida cleanses you'll find online. That's why we can say, without a shadow of a doubt, the cleanse you're about to learn works. It works no matter how sick you are, how long you've been struggling with Candida, how many previous treatments you've tried, or how many specialists you've been to. It's simple to understand, easy to follow, and has no side effects. The first 2 steps are special anti-Candida diets. The 3rd step is where you slowly reintroduce foods back into your diet. They are as follows. Step 1, the MEVY diet, 3 to 4 weeks. Step 2, the low allergy diet, 2 to 8 weeks. Step 3, the food reintroduction stage, 2 to 4 weeks. If this is your first attempt at a Candida cleanse, we also recommend you go through something we call the 14-day big cleanup before you start step 1, the MEVY diet. The 14-day big cleanup. The 14-day big cleanup is sort of like a step 0. It serves 2 purposes. First, it allows you to slowly ease yourself into the new diet without experiencing withdrawal from things like alcohol, caffeine, takeout foods, candy, ice cream, and chocolate. It also reduces your chances of experiencing die-off symptoms during the cleanse. This might sound odd, but you'll likely need to get rid of a lot of the foods in your kitchen pantry during this step. The more severe your yeast infection and the worse your symptoms are, the more critical this step is. The best thing to do is to grab a big bag and fill it with all the foods that have been sitting in jars and bottles in your fridge. If you haven't looked at or touched them for a long time, they need to go. Get rid of sauces, syrups, jams, etc. All these tend to be stored for long periods and develop mold. Even if you can't visibly see any mold, don't take any chances. Throw it away. Next, you want to get rid of anything containing white sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and especially artificial sweeteners, because these will prevent your recovery like nothing else. You need to give the candy away, the ice cream, the cookies. All that stuff needs to go. That way you won't be tempted by it later. Same goes for highly processed foods like potato chips, microwave meals, deli meats, pastries, etc. Give it away to a neighbor or friend, or just throw it in the trash. As you likely know, these are the foods Candida thrives on. By removing these foods from your diet, you take away its food source. This leaves the yeast weakened and far easier to get rid of later. If you don't want to do this and wish to continue eating these foods, even in small amounts, during the cleanse, you may as well turn the video off now. It's that important. Do this over a period of a few days if you must, but get it done. Here's a short list of foods to get rid of. Soda drinks, chocolate, even unsweetened or 100% cacao, ice cream, sweets or candy, biscuits or cookies, donuts, muffins or cakes, pastries, white breads, chips, pizza, fried chicken, and any takeout foods, Nutella, peanut butter, jam, or spreads, unless you make them yourself. For more information about the big cleanup, click the video link in the description below. Step 1, the MEVY diet. MEVY stands for meat, eggs, vegetables, and yogurt. This is a well-tested diet designed to bring your intestinal flora back into balance. It calms and heals your gut from a multitude of conditions, including Candida overgrowth, bad bacteria, parasite infections, and more. We didn't create this diet. It's been around for a long time, since at least 1986 when it was recommended in The Yeast Syndrome by Dr. Morton Walker. You don't need to read it. You'll learn everything you need about the MEVY diet through this video and our YouTube channel. The MEVY diet is a short-term diet. You only need to be strict with it for 3 to 4 weeks. For best results, follow it strictly for at least 2 weeks. Then you can loosen up a little for the next 2 to 3 weeks as you start to implement the low allergy diet. This is step 2. It's up to you to decide how long you want to stay on the MEVY approach. Either way, we can assure you of one thing. The MEVY diet works. It works very well, in fact, and can quickly reduce most, if not all, the digestive disturbances you're struggling with. It's a tasty and healthy diet. You're not going to starve or feel deprived. Meats generally are not favored at all by bad bacteria and yeast. You're not going to have a problem with fresh fish, lean beef, or free-range eggs. Just be careful not to overload your diet on red meat because that can cause constipation and clogged up bowels. If you're a vegan, there are plenty of other options you've got. These foods also discourage bad bacteria like Citrobacter frondiae and get rid of things like blastocystis, Pseudomonas, and all kinds of other nasty bacteria and microparasites typically found in people who've had Candida issues for a long time. The MEVY diet is a low-carb diet. It's been around long before low-carb diets became popular. Unlike other low-carb diets, the goal of the MEVY approach isn't to lose weight, although you most certainly will lose weight if you have excess weight to lose, particularly if you follow it well. You're allowed to eat all meats, eggs, most vegetables, except high-starch vegetables like potatoes, carrots, pumpkin, sweet potato, peas, corn, and beets, and plain yogurt. Eliminate foods and drinks made from grains or yeasts such as cereals, pasta, conventional breads, which contain yeasts and sugars, pastries, chips, and alcohol. Sourdough bread is okay to eat in small amounts. You also want to avoid all dairy products, with natural unsweetened yogurt being the only exception. Don't worry about keeping track of the specific foods you can and can't eat on the MEVY diet. We've created a free Candida Crusher grocery shopping guide, 187 foods that get rid of Candida, PDF guide for that, along with a one-page printable checklist that lists all the fruits, vegetables, grains, and other foods you can eat. You can grab both of them for free. Just look for the links in the description below. Also, make sure you watch the YouTube videos linked in the description below, as these will explain the MEVY diet in much more detail. Step 2. The low allergy diet. Once you've been on the MEVY diet and any yeast you have in your gut have been weakened, we start the low allergy diet. The purpose of this diet is to restore your gut's immune system. Most people with chronic yeast problems will have leaky gut syndrome and a background of antibiotic use or the oral contraceptive pill. They'll have poor levels of good bacteria and all sorts of gastrointestinal distress. That's why it's best to come off what are considered key allergy foods. These foods are citrus, especially oranges, pineapple, banana, shellfish, peanut butter, wheat, gluten, chocolate, cow's milk. Cow's milk is a big one. We've seen testing on over 350 young children that found nearly 70% had a problem with cow's milk. Bananas came back around 14%. Pineapples and shellfish came back nearly 20%. Bread and gluten allergies are not as common as you think. Chocolate, however, is. Even dark chocolate. 70% cocoa or whatever it is, it's got to go for a while. There's no way around it. Chocolate aggravates Candida and other gut disturbances. Even if it's raw cacao, you need to take it out of your diet for at least 3 to 4 weeks. A special note on wheat. Too many people point the finger at wheat and gluten when in fact, these people have bacterial and yeast problems that need clearing up before they start taking gluten out of their diet. We're not big fans of telling people to eliminate wheat or gluten from their diet forever. In fact, we've seen people get back into gluten after they were told by doctors they could never eat wheat ever again. Because once your gut bacteria levels are restored, gluten is no longer a problem. Just because every blog site out there says you should eat gluten-free doesn't make it true. Gluten-free is almost like a religion today. Remember, only 1 or 2% of the population has celiac disease. Are you celiac? Probably not. Are you gluten intolerant? Probably not. Do you have a disturbed gut microbiota? Probably yes. What we're doing with the low allergy diet is taking out the foods that could potentially trigger an immune response. This is very smart because you've likely got food allergies and intolerances right now that are creating immune dysfunction. By taking all these foods out, it stops the immune system from reacting. That way, once your digestion is in better shape, you'll be able to eat these foods without having to worry whether the next bite of the wrong food will send you running to the toilet or cause gas, bloating, or other symptoms. All you do at this stage is remove the foods listed previously in this section and keep it that way for a period of several weeks to several months. You should continue to eat the MEVY diet in the meantime, although you don't have to be as strict with it as you were in the beginning. Step 3. The food reintroduction phase. At this point, you should be feeling a lot better, and most of your big symptoms should have disappeared, so we can start reintroducing the foods we eliminated in Phase 1. You'll get the exact details once you download the free PDF report in the description below. But what you'll basically do is get a piece of paper and write down all the foods you really love but feel you can't eat because they give you problems. We're talking about ice cream, beer, wine, pizza, chocolate chip cookies, pastries, whatever you like. Then what you'll do is slowly start to reintroduce these foods and see what effect they have on you. Yes, even ice cream and pastries. We don't like being the food police. If you like, you can choose healthier versions of them like oat milk ice cream versus a cheap dairy one. And it may sound shocking, but once you go through our cleanse, you'll be very surprised to find that most, if not all, the foods currently on your to avoid list no longer give you trouble. Of course, this doesn't mean you can go on a 100% junk food diet and expect to stay healthy, but you can be sure an occasional ice cream or pizza with friends isn't going to bother you anymore. You don't have to be gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol, or whatever else free for the rest of your life. We can tell you now, after helping thousands of folks overcome Candida, people get sick and tired of having these restrictive diets. They hate it. Every label has got to be scrutinized rigorously. Every time you go out with friends, 90% or more of the menu is off limits, and you're stuck with the blandest salad. What a pain in the butt. A precaution about reintroducing foods. The first foods you reintroduce are not the foods you love the most. You want to start with the foods you feel a bit indifferent about. You haven't eaten them in a while, but you could take them or leave them. It could be carrots, or it could be some fish. If you really love some particular food, it's not a good idea to introduce it back into the diet right away on day one. You can bring them in after a few days or a few weeks. If you bring those foods back in the diet too quickly, there's a possibility you're going to overeat and have too much of them. And then you can get your blood sugar worked up, and this can push you off track. We've seen this happen again and again, so just take it slow and you'll be fine. Part 2. What about antifungals, probiotics, and supplements? Do you need any of these, or is diet enough? Can you get rid of Candida with diet alone, or should you also take antifungals, probiotics, or supplements during your cleanse? A question we often get is, should I take antifungals, probiotics, or supplements while doing a Candida cleanse? Or, I want to beat Candida through diet alone and without taking anything extra. Is this possible? And the answer to that is yes, you can beat Candida with diet alone. But it's hard. Real hard. And we can tell you right now, it doesn't happen in the vast majority of cases. Trust me, if you've got moderate to severe Candida, you won't get rid of it with diet alone. You also won't get rid of it with antifungals or probiotics alone. You need to do both if you want long-lasting recovery. Listen, you may be able to lower your amount of Candida using just diet alone, but to truly clean up the gut, you need high doses of powerful agents over and above the diet. Things like allicin from aged garlic extract, eugenol, which comes from black walnut hull extract, grapefruit seed extract, oregano oil, and more. You'd have to go on a hardcore diet to get adequate doses of all these from food. So hardcore, you'd irritate your digestive system so much you'd throw your beneficial bacteria off balance and start to get problems. We didn't always have this approach. We told patients with Candida to go to health food stores. We told them to buy anti-Candida foods like organic garlic, ginger, and coconut. We told people to focus on eating whole foods and not rely on supplements. And it didn't work. People just got overwhelmed with the amount of stuff they had to eat. Diet alone doesn't work for most people. We've seen people eat the most amazing anti-Candida diets, stuff like 10 cloves of garlic plus big chunks of ginger and tablespoons of turmeric powder each day. But when they did a stool test, they still had problems. Same goes for supplements alone. Trust us, it won't work. You can't just take a pill and say, bye-bye, Candida. What works better for Candida yeast infections? Natural supplements versus antibiotics versus antifungal drugs? The answer is natural medicine supplements. Don't worry about antifungals versus probiotics. We'll get to those in a minute. Many people ask, why should I take a natural product for yeast issues versus a pharmaceutical drug? Are natural products really going to be effective? There are several reasons why we only recommend natural remedies for Candida yeast infections. The key reason is because natural methods don't harm your beneficial bacteria. They let you take out the yeast without harming the good guys or causing damage to your internal environment. It's the difference between using a sniper rifle and a nuclear bomb. A nuclear bomb is something like an antibiotic. Antibiotics are the primary cause of Candida overgrowth. Nearly every woman with recurring vaginal yeast infections has had a history of antibiotic use before she got sick. The problem with antibiotics, as you've probably read elsewhere, is they indiscriminately wipe out all the bacteria in your gut, including the beneficial ones. What most people, including many general practitioners, don't understand is beneficial bacteria are what prevent Candida from taking over in the first place. Good bacteria, primarily Lactobacillus and Bifida, are your gut's immune system. They're like a defense force or a police unit. They keep the bad guys, bad bacteria and yeast, in check and prevent them from gaining a foothold. Another benefit of natural medicine is resistance doesn't occur with natural ingredients. That happens with drugs. This has been confirmed many times with studies done on things like grapefruit seed extract, caprylic acid, undecanoic acid, clove, and other natural antifungals. Resistance just doesn't happen. It happens with pharmaceutical drugs because they are synthetic. They're only made up of one thing. They've got one ultra-refined chemical compound with a very narrow band of action. Once yeast develops a resistance to this action, the pharmaceutical drug is done. Remember, Candida is very adaptive. If you only hit it with one action, it will soon work out how to fool this action. And you know what happens next. The drug no longer works and the problem comes back. And then you go back to the doctor who put you on a new drug and the cycle repeats again. Natural medicines are different. They don't just contain one thing. They've got many different natural chemicals and compounds in there that make it up. They attack yeast from many different angles so it gets overwhelmed and can't fight back. And as you'll soon see, the natural stuff is no less effective at getting rid of yeast than the synthetic stuff. Natural antifungals versus probiotics. Which should you take for Candida? The answer is both. Many people believe that if you take a probiotic and an antifungal together, the probiotic is going to be canceled out by the antifungal product. This is not true. In fact, they work better together, not against each other. Particularly if you take an antifungal that contains only natural ingredients, such as aged garlic extract and oregano oil. Because as we learned previously, natural antifungals don't harm beneficial bacteria. They only harm yeast. You don't even need to take antifungals and probiotics apart. You can swallow both at the same time. That way, as the antifungal travels through your digestive system clearing away yeast cells, the probiotic is right there and replaces them with the exact beneficial bacteria that keeps the yeast from coming back. Remember, Candida cleansing isn't only killing yeast. Think about what had to happen for you to get Candida. The good bacteria had to go, either due to antibiotics, eating the wrong foods, stress, alcohol, etc. Yeast can't multiply much in an environment with high levels of good bacteria like lactobacillus. Think about it. If you only take antifungals and ignore probiotics, what's there to stop Candida from just coming back when you stop taking that antifungal? Nothing. Can you take probiotics only and ignore antifungals? You can, but you'll slow down your recovery. The whole point of taking supplements for Candida is to speed up your recovery. So there's really no reason to only choose one. Sure, you'll save a bit of money, but is it really worth it if it means having to deal with Candida symptoms for an extra 2 to 6 months? I don't think so. Antifungals and probiotics work synergistically, and you'll get far better results if you take both. How to choose an antifungal supplement for Candida that actually works. When choosing an antifungal, go with a compressed tablet versus a cellulose capsule product. Don't buy those cheap cellulose capsules that have a blend of different herbal powers. They're not nearly as effective as tablets. A tablet will almost always have more antifungal activity because more natural ingredients can fit into it, as the capsule itself takes up a lot of space that can be used for herbs instead. When you select a tablet, make sure that it's sustained release. Sustained release means when you swallow this tablet, your digestive system doesn't get access to everything immediately. But over a period of several hours, it slowly breaks down in the gut. That way, it targets all parts of your GI tract. It cleanses all the yeast and bad bacteria right from your mouth and keeps working all the way through the colon and back passage. Now, likely whatever supplements you were taking before were not sustained release. They weren't put together by someone with decades of experience treating your specific health problem. They were likely put together by a company that's got 1,000 other products, and they pay lip service to making an antibacterial formula. Or they've just put out a product with one thing, like oregano oil. That's one of the reasons we made our own antifungal formula. CanXida. We got disappointed with the stuff available in grocery stores. Too many supplements these days are filled with fake ingredients. This isn't an opinion. It's a fact. Back in 2015, the New York Attorney General Office conducted 390 tests on a wide range of supplements. They gathered bottles from the shelves of 4 major retail stores. These were GNC, Target, Walmart, and Walgreens. They then sent the bottles over to a lab and DNA tested every tablet to see if the ingredients matched the label. And guess what they found? Only 21% of the products actually had the herbs advertised on the bottle. 79% didn't contain any of the herbs and were just full of crap like rice powder and wheat. Here's a screenshot of an article from CBS News reporting on it. The investigation found supplements including echinacea, ginseng, St. John's wort, garlic, ginkgo biloba, and saw palmetto were contaminated with substances including rice, beans, pine, citrus, asparagus, primrose, wheat, houseplant, and wild carrot. In many cases, unlisted contaminants were the only plant material found in the product samples. The retailer with the poorest showing was Walmart, where only 4% of the products tested showed DNA from the plants listed on the labels. And it gets worse. One survey done by the FDA found 68% of the supplements tested didn't even have the main ingredient advertised on the bottle. For example, one St. John's wort supplement contained nothing but senna, a laxative that can cause anal blistering. Imagine taking something like that when you've already got a gut problem. This is why we tell folks to avoid generic brand supplements from places like Amazon or iHerb. The way you find good supplements is by asking, where did this product come from? Where did the company get the raw materials? What kind of research has gone into this product? Was the product formulated by a person who's an expert on it? Has it been tested and proven to work on your specific problem? Do they provide extensive education about dosage or the best way to use that product? Does the product use standardized ingredients? Standardized means that each time you take the supplements, you're getting a consistent therapeutic dose. It doesn't vary in potency from batch to batch, as is often the case in non-standardized supplements. It's a bit like how pharmaceuticals are made. You get the same strong therapeutic dose every time you take it. Don't just go for the cheapest product. You'll get cheap results. If you want to test out a high-quality natural antifungal supplement, check out our CanXida Remove formula. This is a heavy-duty formula designed to work even for extremely severe cases where the patient has been sick for years and every other antifungal supplement and drug they tried in the past either failed them or the yeast infection came back. CanXida is non-toxic, has no side effects, and is safe even for children. You won't find anything stronger. It meets all the criteria we mentioned above and more. CanXida Remove is an advanced 12-ingredient antifungal, antibacterial, and antiparasitic formula based on 2 decades of experience. It's the only formula that targets the big picture of gut disturbances and is, in our opinion, the most premium gut cleaning supplement ever created. You can learn more about CanXida by watching the video in the description below or by visiting www.canxida.com/remove. Why most people get nowhere with probiotics and 5 things to look for when choosing a probiotic for Candida. Below are the 5 things you want to look for when choosing a probiotic for Candida. 1. Is the formula centered around good bacteria strains scientifically proven to inhibit Candida and other yeast species? If you've ever compared different probiotic formulas before, you've no doubt noticed that there are lots of different bacteria strains out there, and some products contain more strains than others. Some products contain 50 strains, others contain 20. Most of these are just there for marketing purposes, to make you think you're getting lots of stuff. They don't do anything at all to inhibit yeast, and they do nothing against Candida. The 6 strains that do inhibit Candida are Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus casei, Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Bifidobacterium bifidum, Bifidobacterium longum. The first one on the list is Lactobacillus acidophilus. You've probably heard of it as it's the most researched probiotic strain out there. What most people don't understand is L. acidophilus is Candida's #1 natural enemy, as well as that of most other yeast species. It's the #1 competitor of Candida in both the gut and vaginal environment. Countless studies show that Candida and other yeast species can't reproduce in areas with high levels of L. acidophilus. There are lots of reasons for this. L. acidophilus releases lactic acid, which interferes with Candida's metabolic process. It causes Candida to have a stress response where it goes into a starvation-like state and can't grow. It's also naturally antifungal. Lactic acid is the key reason the vagina has a low pH. This helps prevent a variety of conditions such as bacterial vaginosis, yeast and viral infections, sexually transmitted diseases, and urinary tract infections. Candida hates lactic acid and actually has mechanisms that prevent the acidification of its environment. But a probiotic with high levels of L. acidophilus will overload this. Other antifungal agents created by the Lactobacillus species listed above include hydrogen peroxide, which also protects your gut from bad bacteria infections, and special molecules called bacteriocins and biosurfactants. Bacteriocins are tiny protein-like molecules that slow the growth of bad bacteria and fungi, while biosurfactants are molecules that interfere with Candida's ability to latch on to both the vaginal and gut wall. Studies show when high levels of lactobacillus is released into an environment colonized by Candida, the good bacteria will literally unhook yeast from the epithelial cells that line the gut wall. We can go on and talk about how these strains also stop hyphae formation and causes yeast to stay in its less invasive form. Hyphae are long tubes Candida uses to penetrate the gut wall and spread to other parts of the body. Or how they amplify the effect of antifungal medicines by increasing the permeability of the fungal membrane, a fancy way of saying it makes tiny holes in Candida's cell wall so antifungals can get in easily. But we think you get the point. You don't need to understand all of these scientific terms. Just understand that Candida hates these 6 strains. They compete with Candida for food, nutrients, colonization space, poison it by releasing molecules that prevent its growth, and will even evict the yeast from its home, the vaginal and gut wall, and send it packing. They also have additional benefits, such as in the case of Lactobacillus casei. Casei is very important when you've got a gut problem. Why? Because it mops up immune debris and waste particles, toxins, created by yeast and bad bacteria that like to lodge themselves throughout your body. It stops them from getting into your bloodstream, causing inflammation and making you feel sick. This allows your immune system to focus more on the big issues, like cleaning up your gut from any bad bacteria and yeast. It also helps with food allergies because it trains your immune system to relax and not be hyperreactive. These are the strains that are most responsible for fixing your gut environment. The list above includes the 4 best lactobacillus and the 2 best bifidobacterium. To learn more about these strains, check out the product page for our CanXida Restore formula, which goes over each of them in more detail. You can get to it by clicking the link in the description below. Don't worry about any other strains. They're nowhere near as important. Also remember that only so many probiotics can fit into a capsule. So if a formula has 12 or 20 strains, it's going to have lower levels of the strains you actually want. 2. Avoid formulas that contain prebiotics or FOS. Prebiotics, also known as FOS or fructooligosaccharides, are a special type of sugar naturally found in foods such as broccoli, coconut, and bananas. These sugars are what feed probiotics, beneficial bacteria, and make them grow. That's why they're called prebiotics. So why do we tell you to avoid any probiotic formula that contains them? Because we've seen them cause too many bad reactions when taken in supplement form. Anytime a customer tells us they tried a probiotic formula in the past and it made them feel sick or bloated or gave them brain fog, we know right away that formula contained prebiotics. Companies add these sugars in thinking they're going to feed the beneficial bacteria. Oh yeah, they feed the bacteria all right. They feed everything from the E. coli to the Clostridia and all the other bad bacteria that cause bloating and brain fog and make you feel like crap. Companies will tell you these sugars are from natural sources, but in reality, that source is a factory or lab. We've had it with prebiotics. We've seen them cause too many aggravations in customers. Get rid of any supplements that have them. You'll get much better results if you take a probiotic without prebiotics. It's fine to eat foods that naturally contain FOS, like the ones we mentioned, but don't take supplements that contain them. 3. Does the probiotic formula also contain enzymes? Instead of prebiotics, get a formula that contains digestive enzymes. Research in the past 7 years has shown that when you take enzymes and probiotics at the same time, you get an amplified effect. There are lots of reasons this happens. First, enzymes kickstart the gut and improve the acid-alkaline ratio of the stomach and small intestine. This creates a more favorable environment for the beneficial bacteria to grow. It also creates a hostile environment for the bad bacteria and yeast. They annoy the bad guys and encourage the good guys, and shift your bacteria population from bad to good. Enzymes also help with the healing process. Many people with gut disorders have damaged or inflamed digestive systems caused by bad bacteria and yeast overgrowth. Enzymes help with this by allowing your gut to heal at a faster rate. They can also help mop up any garbage that needs cleaning up. It's like sweeping a floor that hasn't been cleaned thoroughly for many years. You might notice that you pass out bowel plaques or mucus. You may have more frequent bowel motions or larger stools. Enzymes are especially important in the first and second month of the gut healing process because they're going to break down all the vegetable starches your good bacteria are going to feed on. This is how you feed the good bacteria without feeding the bad. That's why you should look for things like amylase, hemicellulase, protease, invertase, and glucoamylase on probiotics labels, because these target all the different kinds of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats you'll need help digesting if your gut isn't in great shape yet. Not all enzyme formulas are compatible with probiotics, so don't just grab an enzyme supplement from Amazon or iHerb and combine it with whatever probiotics you've got lying around. It takes a special skill that a clinician develops over time to understand how to combine these two successfully so you get an amplified effect like we described. If you're taking a probiotic formula right now and you're not taking enzymes along with it, you're missing the boat. You really are. Enzymes make all the difference. If you want the best possible product, make sure the probiotic plus enzyme formula you choose contains an enzyme called serratiopeptidase. This is a very powerful enzyme that will bind to circulating immune complexes in the blood. That means that once you take it, it will actually start to hunt down little bits of debris in your bloodstream created by bad bacteria and yeast as they die off. This is particularly important for people suffering from leaky gut or autoimmune diseases because this debris is one of the main causes of things like rheumatoid arthritis and joint pain, as well as brain fog, headaches, and many other symptoms. 4. Does the probiotic come in a time-released capsule? Another thing to check for is if the probiotics come in what's called a time-released capsule. These capsules are very expensive to manufacture, so usually a company will tell you on the label if it's time-released or not. These aren't the cheap cellulose capsules that break down in the stomach. They survive the stomach and only open up in the small intestine. That way, nothing is lost due to stomach acid. Nearly all probiotics you buy don't do that. They don't fully survive the stomach bypass. They actually get destroyed before they get to the intestine. A time-released capsule is different. It's not affected by digestion. 5. Is the probiotic GMP certified or made in a GMP certified facility? Be very wary of any probiotic that doesn't have a GMP certified seal on the label, particularly the cheap probiotics you see on store shelves. Many years ago, before GMP, good manufacturing practices, were enforced on the supplement industry, we spoke with many experts in America and Europe regarding probiotics and how they were made. And we were quite amazed to discover that when a survey was done on U.S. probiotics just before GMP was enforced, many of them were found to be useless and dead. The cheap probiotics had no viable bacteria in them at all. People were just getting ripped off and they had no idea. And we can tell you right now that chances are especially if you're buying some El Cheapo product at the supermarket or Walmart. You're probably still getting scammed. An easy way to tell is to see if the factory or supplier has a GMP certification. Before you check out other probiotics, take a look at our CanXida Restore formula. This is a heavy-duty probiotic we designed specifically for people with moderate to severe Candida problems who need help fast. It meets all 5 of the criteria above, including serratiopeptidase. You can learn more about this formula by visiting www.canxida.com/restore. Be sure to check out all the other information on our YouTube channel. We run the largest gut disorder-related YouTube channel called the CanXida Gut Health Network, where you can find over 4,000 educational videos, along with several ebooks that teach you step-by-step how to get your gut back to normal. The channel was originally exclusively about Candida, but has since expanded into virtually every other gut health-related issue, and we plan to continue expanding it to cover many other health-related issues. We've even got a Candida Recipes YouTube channel, which you can check out later. Why do we give away so much information for free? Because we like to see people recover. It's fantastic, and the best part of our job. Please be sure to grab your free Candida Yeast Recovery Kit grocery kit, which can be found in the description below. This is a collection of 5 in-depth free PDF reports we created specifically for people like you who are just getting started with Candida cleansing. Inside, you'll discover how to slowly transition to an anti-yeast diet, as well as everything you need to know about how to shop for fruits, vegetables, herbs, grains and flours, pasta, noodles, beans, nuts, breads, soups, spreads and dips, seafood, poultry, meats, dairy, oils, fermented and cultured foods, and more. You can grab it by clicking the link in the description below. Hope to talk to you again soon. I'm Deborah Barnes with the CanXida Customer Care Team.